All right, so on April 10th, a Nasdaq listed company called Trident Digital Tech announced it was signing a strategic cooperation agreement to put Ripple's stablecoin on the rails of 2.1 million Ghanaian businesses. Sounds huge, right? Here's the problem. The company on the other side of that handshake is not Ripple Labs, not Brad Garlinghouse, not the XRP Ledger people. And when the deal hit the tape, the stock dropped 8.7% that same day. Let me show you what's actually going on. April 10th, 2026. Singapore-based Trident Digital Tech Holdings, ticker TDTH on the Nasdaq, signs a strategic cooperation agreement with a group called Ripple Strategy Holding. The scope is ambitious. Onboard roughly 2.1 million Ghanaian micro, small, and medium-sized businesses onto a unified digital platform. Create US dollar to Ghanaian SETI liquidity pools using Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin, seeded by partner banks. Build a blockchain-based modified tax collection and reporting system that aggregates and remits tax payments to the government automatically. 24/7 settlement, programmable compliance, automated tax deductions, automated loan deductions. The press release says the pilot is targeted for mid-2026. And here is the quote from William Lim, also known as Lim Soon Hwat, founder, chairman, and CEO of Trident Digital Tech. Quote, "Our focus is to build real-world financial infrastructure for Africa to transact and comply seamlessly. By integrating with government revenue mobilization systems and high-performing private sector business ecosystems, we are embedding ourselves into core economic flows, not as a speculative platform, but as a scalable, regulated, and utility-driven payment network that empowers global trade and liquidity flows." That is a serious sentence. And at face value, it sounds enormous. 2.1 million businesses on RLUSD rails in one of Africa's fastest growing digital economies. The partner is called Ripple Strategy Holding. Not Ripple Labs, not Ripple Incorporated, not Brad Garlinghouse. Ripple Strategy Holding. And here's the thing. Ripple Labs itself, the XRP issuer, has an active Africa strategy. They published an insights post in April 2026, listing their actual Africa partners by name. Chipper Cash, with 5 million users across 7 countries. VALR in South Africa. Yellow Card in 20-plus countries. Absa Bank. Mercy Corps Ventures. Trident is not on that list. Ghana is not on that list. Brad Garlinghouse has never publicly mentioned this Trident deal. Not on his X account, not in a single interview. The @Ripple handle has been completely silent on it. The press release went out under Trident's name only. No companion statement from Ripple Labs communications team. Zero acknowledgement. So, who is Ripple Strategy Holding actually? Well, here is the pattern match. In July 2025, the same entity, Ripple Strategy Holdings, provided a $100 million equity line to a company called WeBus International, Nasdaq ticker WETO. WeBus is an AI chauffeur company that was announcing an XRP treasury. That is not what blockchain tech licensors do. That is crypto-themed structured financing for small-cap Nasdaq companies leaning into XRP treasury narratives. Ripple Strategy Holding is not a technology partner. It's a quiet capital provider that uses the Ripple brand to package financing deals around crypto treasury stories. The name is doing a lot of work here. Sub-Saharan Africa ran about $205 billion in on-chain value from July 2024 to June 2025. That's a 52% year-over-year increase, straight from Chainalysis's 2025 Geography of Crypto report. And here's the killer stat. Stablecoins account for 43% of all Sub-Saharan Africa transaction volume. This is the most stablecoin native region on Earth. Nigeria leads at $92.1 billion in 12-month value, 3 times the next country. After the Naira devaluation in March 2025, Nigerians moved $25 billion on-chain in a single month. Ghana is the second-tier opportunity, with $4.6 billion in remittances in 2023, according to World Bank data, second only to Nigeria in the region. And the regulatory side is catching up fast. In December 2025, Ghana's President John Mahama signed the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act, Act 1154, into law. That legalized crypto trading in Ghana. In March 2026, Bank of Ghana and the Ghana SEC launched a crypto regulatory sandbox. Bank of Ghana regulates stablecoins. The SEC regulates exchanges. Ghana is one of the most crypto-ready regulatory environments in Africa right now. So the demand side of Trident's pitch is real. What's not clear is whether Trident is actually the company that can capture it. Trident Digital Tech Holdings is a 23-employee Singapore company. Current market cap about 16.5 million US dollars. First half 2025 revenue was, wait for it, $36,612. That's down from $378,000 in the first half of 2024. A 90% year-over-year revenue collapse. Full year 2024 was $465,000 in revenue against $8.1 million in losses. And here's the timing. On April 24th, 11 days after the Ripple strategy announcement, TDTH is doing a 1-for-30 reverse stock split. That's a classic maneuver to keep a Nasdaq listing when shares drift toward $1. Now stack the announcements. In June 2025, Trident announced a $500 million XRP Treasury financing plan. The stock crashed 40%, from 45 cents to under 20 cents. On April 10th this year, the Ripple strategy deal. Stock dropped 8.73% the same day. On April 9th, the day before that, they announced a partnership with Israeli cybersecurity firm MemPsycho. And on April 13th, 3 days after the Ripple strategy announcement, Trident announced a separate joint venture with Aliska Business Advisory, targeting up to $800 million in combined revenue over 5 years. $800 million. From a company that posted $36,000 in half-year revenue. The market is voting, show me, not amen. The demand is real. Sub-Saharan Africa is a $200 billion on-chain economy, 43% stablecoin denominated. Ghana has a legal framework that actually works. The opportunity to wire MSMEs onto stablecoin rails is legitimately one of the biggest fintech stories of this decade. If this gets built properly, it will matter enormously. Here is the honest watch list. 4 things I would want to see before I believe this deal. 1. A direct statement from Ripple Labs or the @Ripple account acknowledging Trident as a partner, not silence. 2. An actual live RLUSD to Ghanaian SETI liquidity pool on-chain, not a press release, something verifiable. 3. A Bank of Ghana VASP license granted to Trident under Act 1154. 4. A named partner bank, just one. Any of the big Ghanaian banks disclosing this as a real arrangement, not a press photo. Until any of those 4 things happen, this deal is signaling, not settlement. And look, Africa's stablecoin demand is not waiting for Trident. Chipper Cash is already there. Yellow Card is already there. Onafrique is already running production corridors across 27 African countries. If Trident doesn't capture this, somebody will. That's the real read. The opportunity is the story. Whether Trident is the company that captures it is a completely different question. Look, here's what I want you to take away. A Nasdaq microcap with less revenue than a mid-sized dental practice promised to wire 2.1 million Ghanaian businesses onto Ripple's stablecoin. The partner is not Ripple Labs. The stock dropped on the news. The reverse split is 11 days later. But the demand behind the headline, Africa's $200 billion stablecoin economy is one of the most real stories in crypto right now. Don't dismiss the opportunity. Just read the name on the door very carefully. If this changed how you read a press release, hit subscribe. Comment whether you think Trident ships anything real by end of 2026. Notion link with every source is in the description. See you in the next one.